Hi everyone, so we're going to finish up our last couple of different classes here. We're going to start with class of aves. So the class of aves, some of their key defining features here are going to be feathers, wings, and hollow bones. They're also going to have webbed feet for swimming. So feathers, wings, and hollow bones, those are all classifications of birds. So these are going to be different marine birds that we're taking a look at here. So some other things here, we're also going to see that they're going to lay internally fertilized eggs. They usually live longer than our land birds. And they also are going to produce fewer offspring than land birds. So a good example here to use is the penguin. Penguins usually only lay one egg per year. So again, that means only one offspring per year, unlike land birds where they're going to lay probably 4 to 6 eggs a year. So again, producing more offspring as a land bird than a marine bird here. We're also going to spend time and energy on their offspring, so really spend a lot more time nursing their young and their offspring here. We're also going to see that their plumage or their feathers are waterproof, except for our species of cormorants. They also have a special salt gland to help remove salt, very similar to the marine iguana that we spoke of. They usually depend more on gliding than actually flying, though some of our birds here are not going to be flight birds. And then they also can dive or swim under the water, so that's a very interesting feature here of these birds as well. So some examples are going to be our pelican, a penguin, albatross, a puffin, and the cormorant. So again, these three birds very frequently you're going to be seeing flying, but again, with the ocean breezes and things like that, they are going to glide more than actually fly. But if you take a look at our penguin here, their wings tend to be more like flippers, so they are going to spend most of their time swimming and walking rather than flying. They actually can't fly. Where the puffin here, it does have the ability to fly, but again, more similar features to our penguin here. So our last class that we're going to talk about is the class Mammalia. So some of our defining characteristics for all mammals, not just marine mammals, is that they're going to have hair on some part of their body. They produce milk in mammary glands. They are warm-blooded, so they regulate their own body temperature. And they're going to give birth to live young. So that's a really key defining feature of the class of Mammalia. There's really not many other or any other class here that is going to give birth to live young. So that's a big one here. So we're going to talk about some different species here of mammals in the ocean specifically. So our first is going to be pinniped. So pinnipeds include seals, sea lions, and walruses. So some differences between the animals in this genus. We can see that seals can they cannot rotate their back flippers forward. So they kind of crawl along the land on their stomach, where seals and walruses have this really unique feature where they can rotate and put their flippers underneath, so they can kind of walk on land a little bit like a really clumsy dog. So that's one of the big defining features as well. Seals kind of just scooch along on the land, where sea lions and walruses tend to have a little bit more mobility. Another defining feature here, if you take a look at our seal's front flippers, they're really short, and our sea lions are going to be really long. So that's going to be a really good defining feature between seals and sea lions as well. So our next is going to be our cetacean family. So they have very fish-like bodies. Again, they are breathing air through the blowhole on the top of their head. They have no hind limbs, so they're going to have a tail very similar to our fish. And then they have a blubber layer of fat for insulation. So some of the examples of these types of animals, these cetaceans, are going to be whales, dolphins, and porpoises. So again, you can see more of a fish-like tail, kind of like a paddle here for all of our different cetaceans. Another thing to remember they do breathe air. So if they were to go on land, they would still be able to survive, though they wouldn't be able to move, which is why it's dangerous for strandings of these types of animals, where our pinnipeds usually go in between land and water pretty frequently. And our last class that we're going to take a look at is our Mammalia siren. So these are herbivorous marine mammals, so that means they're eating plants or photosynthetic material. And they are going to migrate from freshwater to saltwater environments. And a great example of these are going to be manatees. So the reason they move from fresh to salt water is because manatees do live in salt water, but they cannot drink salt water. So they have to migrate to freshwater to have something to drink. So that's a really interesting distinction here between our siren and our cetacean. Again, you can see their look is pretty similar. They do still have that blubber layer and no back legs at all. They have that more fish-like body, but again, they migrate from fresh to saltwater, and they're really only eating plants or protists like algae. So if you have any questions here, please let me know. This is the end of the animals that we will be talking about.